This is the hallway closet. Hallway walls. This is the entrance of the apartment. This is the kitchen floor. This is the stove. This is the refrigerator. Kitchen wall. Kitchen window. Radiator. Cupboards. Sink. Room. The walls. Window to the south. Walls. It's 2 o'clock and Mr. Porzio is not here for the inspection. Master antenna. Walls, doors, floor, wall, bathroom. Sink, toilet, floor, walls, walls to the east, walls to the north, floor, closet, wall to the west. The date is February 28th, last day of the month. Walls, wall to the south, wall to the east, window to the east, closet, wall to the north, closet, wall to the west, floor. We're looking west. I'm going to do this over. Okay, this is the kitchen. You're looking at the kitchen cupboards. And this is the stove. Stove is fine. Open the refrigerator if you would, please. Refrigerator is fine. This is the floor. Back up here for the floor, and the walls, and the ceiling. So, the ceiling's fine, the floors are fine. We're backing out of the kitchen. This is the front door, hallway floor. Hallway closet, hallway walls, and living room, looking to the south. Glass, ceiling, walls, west wall, dining area wall, chandelier, the wall. This is my wrappings for the camera. That's the only thing that's left. Floors. And this, of course, is the east wall. Northeast bedroom. These windows are looking east. There's the wall. There's the ceiling. Floors, extension cord for the camera, walls, northeast bedroom, closet, coming out into the hallway. Light, ceilings, walls, ceiling, doors, walls. This is the hallway. This is the bathroom. It's looking east. Big top floor. Johnny. Bathroom cabinet. Sink. Tub. Looking east. Pink tiles, wallpaper. All intact. All in good condition. Let's get another look at it and then we go to the last room. This is it. This screen doesn't work. It keeps coming down during the winter, so we take it out. Floors. The south. This is the field. Take a look at this wall. This is the west wall. Doorway. Closet. This is a north wall. This is another closet. Window looks to the east. Wall. Ceiling. Floor. 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 Okie dokie. That's it. One more thing is the basement. The door, this is looking west. We're going into the basement then. That's the south wall. This is the east wall. This is the floor. This is the west wall. Ceiling. And I'll show you the last wall. It's the north wall. And junk in the cellar. Air conditioner and 2 bicycles. And now the door closes. Fade out. So here we are, folks, in the back seat of the Lincoln in Hicksville, on the way to Cablevision to edit and chat with Glendora. And I haven't had a chance to even videotape the chat with Glendora. There was a conference with Magistrate Marilyn Dolan Go of the Evil Eastern District of New York, United States District Court, on February the 25th, 1998. And it has been more and more injustice. February 18th, 1 year, and 2 weeks ago, Bruiser Ken beat up Franklyn Buell, socked a 78-year-old man in the jaw, and inflicted 6 bruises on Glendora, who was 68 years old, or was at the time. And then he realized what a terrible thing he had done. And so he ran away like the coward that he is. And he said he didn't do it. And he has lied, along with his accomplices, 1,662 times. Now, to cover up his brutality, to cover up his criminal assaults. He lied that Glendora reached up and touched his arm. Well, Glendora never reached up and touched his arm. And even if she had, is this worth 1 year and 2 weeks of lying, of taxpayer fraud, of using the government so-called quote-unquote to protect criminal Pinkertons, to tie up a judge, to tie up a court, to have a trial, to hire jurors, to buy their lunch? Is it worth all that? Isn't Pinkertons there to protect the United States of America and to protect the public? No. All of these people, Kwiatkowski and Edgardo Ramos and all of the others, they think they are there to protect themselves. They happen to be paid by you, the taxpayer, to protect you, the taxpayer. But they have dumped the thing upside down and used all of our resources to protect themselves, to lie and to cover up. Mildworm was on a personal frolic. A Mildworm, I think, is mentally unbalanced. The Pinkertons that he works with, that would be Sullivan, Raymond J. Sullivan, John McHale, Anthony McHale, and John Doe 5, 6, and 7, they were able to restrain him twice when he tried to attack us. But they were negligent in missing the third time when he got away with it. And I have an audio tape to play for you where he is completely over the deep end. And where finally the people who work with him realize he is over the deep end. So when I get back, I'll have to get out that audio tape and I'll have to play it for you. How did that audio tape occur? Well, when the brutes took away my tape recorder, and it was in their hands, one of them turned on the tape recorder, and recorded Pinkerton saying to Bruiser Ken, "Calm down, Kenny, calm down, Kenny. You're not going back there, Kenny. You're not going back there. Calm down, Kenny, calm down. Take it easy, take it easy." So Kenny is totally unqualified to hold the job that he has. He is a menace to society. He should be fined, he should be put in jail. Then in addition to that problem, we have the problem of Kenny's fraudulent pension. If he is able enough to beat up seniors and work full-time, why isn't he working for the New York City Police Department instead of being a parasite? So we're at Cablevision now in Hicksville, and now we're going to get out and get the cart, and then we're going to load the cart, all of the equipment, and go up and edit the chat in Glendora. And what day is it? March the 3rd, 1998, Anno Domini Tuesday. What time is it? 2 p.m. Okay, everybody, here is lesson 11 on Glendora Happy Book. You're doing very well. You're going to do some facts. Now, take 5 minutes or so a day with vision. Think of where you'd like to be 1 year from today and what you'd like to be doing. Think of what it consists of a year from today. Sometimes, in addition to saying to yourself, 1, I want this, 2, I want that, 3, I want this, 4, I want that, affirm that you are strong, you are sure of the source, you are happy, you are successful, you are lucky, you are likable, you are smart. Now, are you thinking purely? Are you thinking purely? Are you thinking purely? Remember, Spend 2 or 3 minutes with that thought before the day's first encounter with anything. Throughout the day, include this several times as you reiterate your thoughts. The source is always with you. Are you always with the source? Being with the source is merely having your thought on the source. Being with the source is just a case of concentrating and thinking right. The source has all the power. The source has everything you want. Ask the source for everything you want. Do everything the source wants. The source is flowing through you every minute. You take the source with you wherever you go. The source is inside you. All you have to do is keep your thought on the source. Thinking purely, folks, is first. The reason for this is that the source is trying to do for you what you want, and your thought has to be clear and open and receptive and ready to receive what the source is going to give you. If at the time the source is ready to give you something, and your thought is on something trivial or ugly or negative or unpleasant, then you are blocking what the source is trying to give you. Thinking purely is that important. In fact, thinking purely is first importance in your life. Think of how things should be. Forget about how they are not as they should be. That's keeping your thought receptive for the source and you to make things as they should be. You see these people all around town jogging? Maybe you do your jogging trying to catch the bus. Does jogging help people lose any weight? In one way it does. It keeps them running past the bakery shop, so instead of going there shopping. But just as physical jogging is salubrious, so is mental jogging. For all the reasons that exercising the heart by jogging is a good idea, exercising the mind by going to your retreat each day is a good idea. Keeping your thought in good shape is more important than anything else. Wouldn't you like to be as great as you possibly can be? Wouldn't you like to reach your full potential? Just keep making your retreat each day and listening to the source. You will be. And out of the retreat, when you're moving around, using the body more than the mind, count your thoughts. Are you up to 75 pure thoughts an hour, 5 hours a day? How happy would you be if you were in state lottery? You could find an even greater happiness if you think right. Remember, when the state lottery used to give a prize of $2,500 worth of groceries, wow, you could even buy 2 boxes of raisins for that. Maybe your employer will give you your bonus this month. Maybe we'll give it to you in a lump sum. There will probably be a lump in the throat when you listen to it. Maybe you win a color TV on a quiz show, and if you don't, you can just paint the old one red. Maybe you'll win one of those luxury cars. Of course, today with the price of gas, any car is a luxury. On these TV giveaway shows, the women jump up and down and kiss the host so much they ought to put the host in the glass seat. Now maybe your daughter will win a Fulbright scholarship, or maybe we'll start awarding half-bright scholarships. This is a lesson 11 of the Glendora Happy Book. Keep going on it because we really want to see you happy. You know you can make it.
Called 3M, and I got into sales right away.
You did really?
Spent 7 years in sales and 5 different territories.
Who's such a nice company?
Excellent company to work for. The company brings their people along, trains them, and promotes them from within.
Oh, that's pretty nice. The most fun parts of your work?
Well, I guess it's working on developing new products. And, getting into the, first of all, the market research, finding out what new products are needed, and then developing the products, packaging, and actually seeing it launched into the marketplace and seeing consumers like yourselves buy it.
Right, and seeing it be a huge success, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Boys and girls, would you like a job in the financial field? This is Joe McNamara, and he's a senior vice president, is that right? For Prudential Base. Tell the boys and girls, Bill, about Prudential Base, what they are.
It's a securities brokerage firm involved with stocks, commodities, bonds, all sorts of investments for individuals, pension funds, institutions, all bowl right.
That's interesting, isn't it, Bill?
I found it very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm doing it now just shy of 1920.
So, you keep up your end.
Sure, to be my own boss.
Oh, boy.
I really appreciate the fact that I can go after the prospective clientele that I wish to go after, deal with the types of securities that are best suited to their needs, and have, as I mentioned before, no lid on one's compensation. If you're successful, the sky is the limit.
Well, that's nice. Now, how would a boy or girl get started on experienced securities today?
Well, twofold, I would say. One is the education process is absolutely imperative. You need to have the best education. A bachelor's degree is a bare minimum. A master's degree will help you a good deal more. Second, that's just the entrance though. Most important, more important than that, is actually getting your foot in the door. Start out at the slightest job that you can find. Anything to get your foot in the door, and then study, keep your mouth quiet, learn, observe, ask an awful lot of questions, and as you pick up more and more product knowledge about whatever you're about to sell, you'll find that you become valuable and you become much more useful to the organization, and you'll be given a shot at sales.
These are represented by what are called labor unions. And those are organizations that the employees choose to represent them. They join those organizations. And so we negotiate or speak with those organizations concerning the terms and conditions of the employment of those employees.
Oh, I see. That must be pretty interesting.
Oh, it's very interesting.
Yeah. Where were you born, Dave?
I was born in Detroit, Michigan.
You were?
With the groups of employees, when we speak to the union that represents them, with the needs of the company, and the objectives and the concerns of the company. And I think the most exciting thing is when you get the right balance and you are able to come up and bring about an agreement that both parties are satisfied with.
Sure.
The station is responsible for coordinating the schedule, programming schedule, what programs will run, where they will run, and also coordinating the acquisition of those shows, determining what will be bought so that eventually can be scheduled.
Oh, good. Tell us some of the shows you bought.
Well, we recently purchased Muppet Babies.
You did?
For 1989, and we need to think quite ahead as far as the product we're going to use long term. And Golden Girls for 1990, fall of 1990. So it's a ways off, but you have to be looking now for 3 years from now.
Are the most exciting parts of your work?
Well, the most exciting part of television that I enjoy is the creative process, and it's been the process that began, I think, back as I was interested in creative writing.
Oh, sure.
It's continued on. It took shape in another way, in another media, in television. And through the different things that I've done, even though I at one point had more hands-on operation, literally running cameras, doing the technical work, enjoyed that very much. Every step of the way has been a continuation.
Really?
And I think what I try to do is extend my work now as a manager, as an administrator, and as a person who is responsible for coordinating the creative efforts of others, knowing that I am an extension of that creative process. It's not something that I've left behind in order to take a desk job. It's still a creative process, and in television very much so everybody has to contribute to that final product, which is, by the time it gets on the tube, on the television, there's no turning back. Everybody has had to contribute and do their best. I enjoy coordinating that process and seeing the results of everyone's work turning out to be the very best product we can deliver to our audience.
But basically, I'm here every night on Channel 7 at 6 o'clock and 11 o'clock, and I present the day's sports during the newscast at 6 and 11. And we'll go out during the day and interview players. For instance, today I talked to Phil Simms of the Giants.
You did?
I did.
Oh, he's such a nice person.
He's a great guy, he really is.
He's a nice person. You talk to him.
Talked to him, and we had a little interview on TV tonight with him, and Jack Clark of the Yankees.
Oh, great.
Who's a great hitter. Talked to him a little bit, and we looked at the highlights from the night before. We put those together, and we go on for 3.5 minutes or so, and try to put
fun.
together. It's a lot of fun, it really is.
Now, Corey, you have to read the wires too, don't you? And find
Yeah.
out all the sports news all over the
Exactly. One of the things you do each day is you read all the local newspapers, and you try to listen to all the radio stations, and get all the wire copy you can from the Associated Press, United Press International, other services, to make sure you're not missing anything. And then we also have help from our network with video sources from other cities around the country that we look at.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different options you have, and you have to make decisions each day as to what is most interesting and most important to the audience.
And then than the other time.
It might be, because the adrenaline is pumping, and you're a little anxious, you're a little apprehensive about it, because you maybe don't have all the facts you should have, or have a good handle on what shots are describing what plays or whatever. But somehow you pull it off, and it's a great feeling when you do that, and I get a big kick out of it.
Good for you.
Point of view, because everybody likes to meet famous people, I guess. But just to get to know people and what makes them tick and what makes them good at what they do. And I think there's something to be said for that, and I really enjoy that, just to get to know people a little bit.
Because they're the fastest feet in town. Show them.
Fastest feet in town, and
Show
you have it. These are probably the most worn out shoes I have.
That's 1998, Anno Domini Tuesday, 7 a.m. Penny Cat. You just saw Katy Cat. And now, where is Ginny Cat? This is a room with 9 windows. So the date of this report is February the 20th, 1997, Anno Domini, Friday, and the date of reporting it to you is March the 10th, 1998, Tuesday, Anno Domini. This has to be one of the greatest landlord-tenant corruption fights that the poor world has ever seen, and it has to be the worst judge that you and I have ever met. Her name is Rosanna Washington. Rosanna Washington prohibited Glendora from showing 8 hours of videotaped evidence and 5 hours of audiotaped evidence that refuted every statement of every Porzio Lehrman witness. Porzio is the law-breaking landlord. Glendora reported him to the authorities because he violated her warranty of habitability. And then Lehrman is his liar for hire, a most disreputable firm, Lehrman and Gudeman, in 199 Main Street in White Plains. We're going to picket out there. in front of that. And then 2 corrupt judges, Joanne Freya, Rosanna Washington, of the City Court of the City of White Plains. Rosanna Washington stole our jury trial. A jury is supposed to decide on the facts, not Rosanna Washington. It was one Rosanna brat temper tantrum after another. This is a judge at a bench in a city court. But we took it. We fought hard for right, while Rosanna and her partners in crime fought for wrong. However, the facts were not decided. She doesn't give a hoot about facts, Rosanna Washington. She doesn't give a hoot for her country, our God, for truth, for justice, for courts. She's as corrupt as they come. They do not come any more depraved than Rosanna. What is wrong with you, White Plains Council, that you would appoint such trash to the White Plains City Court? Recall her. Evict Rosanna Washington. Look how long Porzio had to, look how low, rather, Porzio, and long too, Porzio had to stoop to get his retaliation. He lost his soul, he lost his God, and he had to lie. And he lied several times. Evidence after evidence of Glendora, Rosanna excluded. Who runs the court? It's not Rosanna. Lehrman is the boss. Look how Lehrman had to stoop. Look how low Lehrman had to stoop to get what he craved. His soul is riddled to polka dots. Alas, look how low Rosanna had to stoop to get what she wanted. She is totally dehumanized. She had to sell soul, truth, justice, temperance, conscience, honor, and honesty. She was sued again this morning in federal court on all these accounts. The devil owns her. Because of the action in the federal court on the morning of February 20th was violation of the 14th Amendment, which is equal protection of the law. This woman knows nothing about being a judge. See, in White Plains, the judges are appointed. It's crazy. They're appointed by the Common Council and the mayor. And they do a terrible job every time. We got through it. We met every challenge. Hitler was bad? No. Mild compared to tyrannical, hopeless, crude Rosanna Washington. How many times did she scream at the top of her lungs? About 15, I would say. Honky-tonk, garish, crude, Stygian, diabolical. She exposed her origins. She barred her aboriginal nature. Lying landlord, crooked lawyers, corrupt judges. So she denied the hard evidence. She turned her ugly face and bad diction from anything that was truthful. She forbade autocratically anything that smacked of truth, goodness, fairness, decency, honor. Good people shiver. Her evil wheels ground and churned out her fiendish recalcitrance, her overbearing sass, her intemperate bursts of savagery. But Franklyn and Glendora are happy. They stood up for America. They showed Porzio, Lehrman, and Rosanna for what they are. It was a terrible drama. I have a cat here who wants to say hello to you. Come here, Ginny. Excuse me. Yeah, this is a little stray charcoal cat. Yeah. Give me cat. Give me cat. He has a some kind of a injury of five years ago in her spine, I think it is. And if it's touched just the wrong way, it hurts. You have heard of white-collar crime, folks? Well, this is black robe crime. White Plains Common Council, how could you be so wrong? The job of the court is to ascertain the truth. And how did Rosanna see it? Trample the truth, crush the evidence, rob Americans of their rights to jury trial, lie to people, steal everything you can, cheat every way you can, disgrace your city, your country, your state, your America, make a laughingstock of the courts. It's pretty sad, isn't it? She wrote her insane order as she sat at the bench, ignoring the court action. Instead of listening to the testimony, she was at the bench writing her crazy decision. She made a fool of herself, trumping up excuses to shut out the truth and fairness. What is our solution? We will continue to expose her hypocrisy. We will report it on TV, just as we are doing now to you. We will picket 77 South Lexington, the White Plains Public Safety Center. We will picket 199 Main Street, where Lehrman and Guterman lie for hire. And we will picket 2 Old Mamaroneck Avenue, White Plains, where John Porzio breaks the law, retaliates, and harasses. These are the black dens of the 3 denizens: Porzio, Lehrman Guterman, and Rosanna Washington. And what has Lehrman got on her? What evil have they done together that he has her blackmailed? And what else will he do? We'll petition. What else will we do? We'll petition. We'll petition the White Plains Common Council and the mayor to recall Rosanna Washington. Folks, you know that I filed a $22 million civil action against bruser for inflicting 6 bruises on me in Uniondale Courthouse, a federal courthouse. This is what the Eastern District has come to, the evil Eastern District of New York. The Southern District of New York is purgatory, but the Eastern District of New York is hell. That lawsuit was filed in February, a year ago, and a couple of weeks. I have not seen a bit of justice. All I've seen is cover-up, lying. All of these people are lying at your expense. You are paying them. They are lying. They are not protecting you, the public. They are protecting themselves. Last week, a glimmer of justice appeared. I made a motion for summary judgment, meaning that all of the facts were on our side. Excuse me, and that there was no need to discuss the facts. They're all on our side, because the other side has no facts. They just have lies. And then that, as a matter of law, I should have my judgment against Bruiser Ken and all of his criminal partners, including the FBI, including the U.S. Attorney, including the U.S. Marshals, and of course including Pinkertons. So I made a motion for summary judgment, and I made it to Magistrate Go. A magistrate, of course, cannot decide a dispositive motion. So this dumb U.S. Attorney named Michael Goldberger writes a letter the night before the return date and says the motion is in improper form, therefore it can't be dealt with. Calls up and reads the letter on the telephone answering machine. And then we go to court the next day in the Eastern District of New York, courtroom 373, whatever it is, Magistrate Go. She hasn't even read the motion for summary judgment. She just doesn't read the papers. She said, no, the motion for summary judgment has to be in proper form. You know, just tossed it off. So a couple of days later, by George, if we didn't get an order from Magistrate Eileen R. Ross saying that the defendants would have to answer the motion for summary judgment. And it was and/or in the alternative to transfer this case to the Southern District out of the protection and incest and inbreeding of the Eastern District of New York, where everybody is a friend of everybody else, and you're not going to see any justice at all. You're not going to see any impartiality. You're not going to see any fairness. So I write to Judge Ross, and I said it was a motion for summary judgment in the plaintiff's favor and in the alternative to transfer to the Southern District of New York. Hooray! Defendants are told to do what is right for once, instead of getting their childish delays and procrastinations of over a year and almost a month. Thank you, Judge Ross, for putting your foot down. Plaintiff pleads for oral argument. She has never seen her Article III judge eyeball to eyeball. Decision by submission is really a correspondence school. As bad as USDJ Charles L. Bryant is, give him credit for oral argument on everything. The conference with USMJ Go, February 24th, actually that was 25th, give him credit for oral argument on everything. The conference with USMJ Go, February 24th, actually that was 25th, 1998, began to show glimmers of justice. Plaintiff is grateful. It's a good order. Why can't we publish it? Dated White Plains, New York, March the 3rd, 1998. Yours in truth, Glendora, Box 416 in Chatwick, Glendora, White Plains, New York, 10602, 914-949-9495, 1 hour and $2.30. These crazy crooks are still talking about sentencing. Oh, yeah. They want a sentence on Friday the 13th. So you know what they want a sentence to? 4 months of home confinement and 4 months of jail. Now, we never touched Bruser Ken. Lisa Franklyn and myself. Bruser Ken did all of the touching. Bruser Ken committed a horrible crime. Cover up for that, he said that we assaulted him, and we never touched him, and we wouldn't have touched him or anybody else. But this is the lie that ASRAC is allowed to go through her court, go through a jury trial. This is the lie. This is how evil the Eastern District is. Now, Jane Ann Murray, who is Franklyn's legal aid lawyer, finally got around to writing objections to the probation department's recommendation, 4 months of home confinement and 4 months of jail. It was something that we never did, and on top of that, we are the victims. Kenneth Mildworm, Bruser Ken, is not. He's a liar. He's a former New York City policeman. He is a liar. And the total number of lies that have been orchestrated by Mildworm and Sullivan and John McHale and Anthony McHale and Thomas Kwiatkowski and Edgardo Ramos and Patrick Quinn and the Pinkertons, guess what their lies have come? We've counted every one. Their lies come up now to 1,712 lies they have told on the payroll of the USA. So this is United States District Court, Evil Eastern District of New York. This is 97 Crim 228, memorandum by Glendora in gratitude for Jane Ann Murray's objections to the frame-up. Glendora and Franklyn do everything together, writes Stuart Grossman, who is the legal advisor that the U.S. government has given me. I'm the lead attorney, pro se, informa pauperis, but he is a legal advisor. Only an advisor now. Momentarily together, Franklyn and Glendora are writing their appreciation of the Murray objections to the probation department's Spartan and surrealistic frame-up. The court has to remember that Franklyn and Glendora did nothing wrong. Franklyn did what is right, as he has all of his sweet, kind, and clean life. Every woman in the world should have a husband as pure and good and supportive as Franklyn. I wish that for everyone. He is truly a gentle man, not just to his wife, but to all. He is one of the world's gems. This court has to remember, this is Joan M. Azrak, a magistrate in the evil Eastern District of New York. This court has to remember that this gentle and kind man was the victim of a sock on the jaw and a sprawl on the floor. Let's see if I can get you a picture of that. These are the bruises of Bruiser Ken. This is a man who offered all that he had, D-Day to VE Day, Normandy to Weimar, to stop the Nazis and the Gestapo and the Holocaust. Not just is he innocent, he is a victim of the onslaught of an insane Pinkerton named Kenneth H. Mildworth. Said Bruiser Ken, "My job is to protect the judicial family." Well, dear United States Magistrate Judge, it is not your job to protect Bruiser Ken. And that's what you've been doing for a year and a month. You are sentencing, quote unquote, an innocent veteran and a victim. First, he is a victim of Madman Mildworm. Next, of a cowardly, traitorous, vindictive, frame-up, cover-up, RICO prosecution involving no less than 50 conspirators and traitors to the United States of America. However, that is your burden, not ours. You will have to carry it the rest of your life, as will your progeny. Our duty is to take it like Nathan Hale, but we will take it vociferously, exposing it in writing and by electrons on public access TV. Writes Miss Murray, Mr. Buell is scheduled to be sentenced, and it should be in quotes, by this court on March the 10th, 1998. Well, they changed that. They changed it to March 11th. I told them I couldn't be there March 11th because I have to edit this program for you at Cablevision. So now they got it down to Friday the 13th. Isn't that a great day for quote-unquote sentencing? The probation department has determined that Mr. Buell's total offense level is 11, which carries a guideline range of imprisonment of 4 months. She's got it wrong here. She's got it down to 8 to 14 months. I am writing to object to that calculation on the grounds that an enhancement for obstruction of justice is inappropriate. In addition, I am moving for a downward departure on the grounds of the unusually mitigating circumstances of the offense and because of Mr. Buell's age, physical condition, and extraordinary family circumstances. Okay, so Glendora says Bruiser Ken socks Franklyn in the jaw and sprawls him on the floor, and Franklyn has to go to jail for that? 4 months in jail and 4 months of home confinement was the statement. Where did Murray get 8 to 14 months come from? Says Murray, the obstruction of justice enhancement proposed by the probation department is unwarranted. First, there is insufficient evidence in the record to establish that Mr. Buell's 3 allegedly false statements were in fact false. The statement that Mildworm twisted Mrs. Buell's arm behind her back is not inconsistent with Mr. Mildworm's admission that he attempted to raise Mrs. Buell from a seated position by pulling up on her arms upwards. Well, that's a lie. I was not in a seated position. I was standing up. I was waiting for clearance to go into the courthouse. And Bruiser Ken sneaks up behind me without a word, grabs me under the arms, grabs this, and that's where these 2 great big bruises came from. Then grabs this wrist this way and then twists it up behind the back, and there's 4 big bruises there. I was standing. He lied. They have lied. Remember, 1,712 times. that Mr. Buell's belief that Mildworm punched him in the jaw is not inconsistent with Mildworm's admission that he pushed Mr. Buell out of the way with his arm and could not recall which part of Mr. Buell's body his arm touched in the process. You see, Mildworm tells the lies, and then the court and all the lawyers live by the lies. They don't live in a world of reality, folks. They live in a surrealistic world. It wasn't a belief of Franklyn that he was socked in the jaw by this brute. Franklyn is a well-known fact. He felt it. C, it is mere suspicion and conjecture that the tape admitted into evidence constituted something other than a contemporaneous recording of the aftermath of the Buell's encounter with Mildworm. Now, folks, I'm going to tell you more about this. It will be continued. Right now, we have to do something else. But I will continue this madness, reporting this madness to you. And this is a chat with Glendora. Now we'll go to the archives. To the Glendora Happy Book, lesson number 12. Negative, trivial, irrelevant thinking can get you very weary. You'll be amazed how much and vigor you get out of right thinking. Thinking wrong makes you feel separate from the source. Thinking right makes you feel one with the source. Thinking right brings joy and brings what you want. Thinking wrong brings just the opposite, brings what you don't want. Right thought brings to you what is pleasant. Wrong thought assures you of getting what is unpleasant. With right thought, you are your own person. You do not bow down to anything. Are you free yet, or are you still in bondage? Go to your thinking. Nobody can stop you from being free. Nobody, that is, but you. And your free thinking will make the rest of you free someday. Remember to have a loving attitude toward all life, plants, animals, people. You can afford to. You're some of the source. To yourself, praise the source. Think about how great the source is. Right thought is your comforter. With right thought, you can break away from your security blanket. Try to love everybody, people, animals, plants, 100%. When something negative about somebody intrudes on your thought, stop thinking it. Don't complain. Immediately think of something laudable about that somebody. You know instantly whether somebody likes you or doesn't like you. You know instantly whether you are being liked or whether you are being disliked. Make an effort to like everybody abundantly. Fill that old bean of yours full of love for everybody. Don't wait for somebody to love you first. You take the first step. Taking the first step every time will put you ahead of everybody. The majority of folks are dragging their sneakers, and that's to your advantage. You'll find that right thinking is more relaxing than doing crossword puzzles. You'll never be as good at crossword puzzles as office managers because they know more crosswords than anybody. Do you find TV relaxing? Don't get so busy watching Search for Tomorrow that you lose track of today. And maybe you should take a trip. Maybe you should, as they say, visit New York City in depth. I visited New York City in depth. I took a subway. But what you are looking for isn't in a trip. It's inside you. It's in your retreat. It's easy to convince some people to take a retreat. They think it means give up and go backwards. And retreats certainly cost much less than a trip. Remember the expression, if you dance, you must pay the fiddler? I think that must have originated with the American Federation of Musicians. Don't hurt or destroy. Live harmlessly. Go after that which you've lost until you've found it. You've lost your oneness with the source. Go after it until you find it. Right thought is more precious to you than gold or silver or anything else. Right thought will give you all that you want. Rather than complain, give thanks for what you have. Have pure thoughts while lying quietly, walking, working. Your thought is the strongest tool there is. Think of that. Your thought has power over any situation. If you develop your thought, it can control your body. Every day think less and less about materialism, the house, food, body, hot, cold, warm, car, clothes. Do you get confused keeping up with the news headlines? Saudi Arabia is mean to us and won't give us any oil, so the Saudi Arabians are sadistic. And Tarzan has just written a new Christmas song. It's called Jungle Bells. Your city is asking the federal government for a block grant. A block grant is what you give the federal government every April 15th. There's a new fabric on the market. It's newer than polyester. I remember my first polyester suit. The jacket belonged to Polly and the skirt belonged to Esther. Such and such a labor dispute will be settled by binding arbitration. Many women settle a dispute by binding arbitration. She marries him. Children in school aren't getting enough education. Some kids think that Admiral Hornblower is a New York City taxi cab driver, or that David Brinkley is head of a state university because they keep hearing on TV about Chancellor Brinkley. Do you have trouble keeping up with the latest automotive products? The latest in steel-belted radial tires, for instance? Don't you think that would be a good design for a girdle? And what do you think about the latest in lifetime shocks? I was a lifetime shock to my parents, but my father finally decided that I was a credit to the family, a tax credit. They should grade parents the way they grade mattresses: extra firm, super firm, and ultra firm. So folks, that ends Glendora Happy Book Lesson 12. And how are you doing? Are you happy? We want very, very much for you to be happy. And you've got everything it takes to be happy. Folks, we started reading you some of the sins of Rosanna Washington, a judge, part-time judge in the city court of the city of White Plains. You and I have come across some very crooked lawyers and some very corrupt judges in the past few years, haven't we? Well, this one has to be the nadir. Quote, said Rosanna Washington, when the case comes back from federal court to White Plains City Court, it will go to a different judge or a different court. She defied her own order. She did not keep her word. She lied. She rigged the trial. She predetermined when it would be over. Thursday afternoon, she said it would be over Friday afternoon. Is that rigged? Is that stacked? Is she fit? White Plains Common Council, how could you be so duped? And Mayor, it was Cy Schulman at the time. Now we will take Porzio to the Supreme Court of the state of New York. We will denude him and his liar for hire, Friedrich Lehrman and Mark A. Gudeman, and his judge for sale, Rosanna Washington, for their crookedness, traitorship, and collusion. The law is on our side, the facts are on our side, but Rosanna is on the landlord's side. Lerman was his usual nescient and bumbling self, as bad in court as he is bad on paper. Porzio was his usual sleaze. Rosanna was her usual odious self. There is no exculpation for these three hoods betraying their country. Rosanna in her Dorian Gray, deterioration, even denied the logs as evidence. There are something like 300 logs, daily logs, that list the 4,500 torts that landlord Porzio totally ignored. She denied the logs as evidence. 2,000 logs were denied as evidence that tell the truth about the Walsh, Alpucci, and Larkin lawbreaking. But they can go back on TV, the videotapes, and the day-by-day and hour-by-hour account of their violations, 4,500 torts it turned out to be in all. And to a much wilder, to a much bigger audience than a greedy, impudent little girl court stenographer named Kathy Dropney. A handful of court stenographers and a shrieking maniac judge, so they will have a much bigger audience. You. How can these poor court officers stomach this disgusting decadence every day? They do look sickened by it. It's a very unhealthy job. Glendora has found one former New York court officer who is ready to tell all. That's good. I never saw anyone make a bigger fool of herself than Rosanna Washington did. The disintegration of a Homo sapiens before your eyes. We would rather be patriots than traitors. We would rather be we than they. It is no conundrum why they rob you of videotape recorders and audio tape recorders. They don't want you, the public, all powerful, to know. Rise up and get them out of justice land. They are despicable. What a sad record they have left their progeny. What a blot they are to predecessors. Get rid of the judge disease. Judge disease. Can't we vaccinate the courts against such germs? Sued against Rogue Rosanna for lying and stealing and cheating on the U.S. Court of Appeals in Boss docket. An appearance before a judge in Supreme Court, State of New York, serving Rogue Rosanna lawsuit. Packing the Lincoln from 12:30 p.m. we drove by well, it was a big job to load that Lincoln. It was 300 pounds of evidence and a great big TV monitor and video equipment. And it was about, the TV set must be about 80 pounds and 120 pounds of files in the White Plains mock court. We sat at court for an hour and reviewed the lies of Porzio, Washington, Lerman, and Freya. Rogue Rosanna, in her gutter manner, caused Franklyn and Glendora to lug another 300 pounds of evidence to court, and this is the 6th time, and then crookedly stole our right to present it. We have no respect for them. They obviously have no respect for themselves. Porzio lied again about water in the cellar. Let me show you a videotape of that. Water in the cellar. And just obviously he lies. Rosanna would not let me show that tape because she didn't want to know that he was lying. No hot water at 5 a.m. Furnace failures 60 times. Porzio's unsteady face showed clearly as he testified that he had gone bananas. Rogue Rosanna would not let the videotapes be shown that told the truth. Truth is not their interest. Crookedness is. She is enslaved to crookedness. We ruined her dream of the supreme, a great accomplishment for public service. She should be jailed and fined. Quote, by a preponderance of the evidence, unquote, she intoned. Truthfully, it was by a preponderance of lies. What a traitor is she to the USA. She was served a new lawsuit at 11:35 a.m. She should have recused immediately, but as always, she breaks the laws. And she doesn't know the laws. What a coward she is to run away from the videotape evidence and the audio tape evidence. Picket, petition for recall, and public access TV reports. To these berserk rulings, Glendora would say grounds, and Rogue Rosanna would bellow, I don't have to say. She had no grounds. She calls them rulings, but they are nothing but dicta. Recall her, White Plains Common Council, recall her. You are guilty for putting the awkward woman there. She is a misfit. Here is a godless and an Americanless court. Really, it really isn't a court. Not only did bungler Rosanna maliciously cause us to carry 300 pounds of video equipment and files to court for nothing, she maliciously caused Glendora to do 200 hours work making dubs and $100 cost for discovery the crooks requested, and the crooks should have paid for it. They requested it. She doesn't know that the person who demands discovery is to pay for it. She is legal illiterate. She is a sacrilege to America's dearest traditions, free speech, trial by jury, in personam jurisdiction, Travis hearings, honesty, honor, uprightness, fairness, impartiality, and truthfulness. The action was brought under Section 2504.1 of the Tenant Protection Rules, whose scope is 6 months before the notice of termination and 10 days after. This would be November 1996 to March 1997. And Rosanna let witness after witness testify about things that happened years ago. How much more crooked can you get, or ignorant? And Glendora's videotaped and audiotaped evidence showed every one of these witnesses scared of actions against them. Shows that every one of these witnesses lied. She is a total failure. She should be fined and locked up, a menace to America. She even let a friend of hers testify. And then she interrupted me when I cross-examined that friend witness. There was no address of the process server, the sewer service, on the false affidavits. And that's against the law. Freya and Washington have tried to lie. No such thing happened. 2 different members of my staff. Mr. McNeil has no personal knowledge of this. It is hearsay. I'm writing this letter to you as a follow-up to those conversations and to make sure, well, this is all very vague. The meaning is not clear. March the 3rd, 1998, Glendora was personally present in Mr. McNeil's area, saw him several times, and there was no mention made of this matter. That's peculiar, too. It is my hope, says Mr. McNeil, that in the future your show will focus on matters of public interest. Glendora was focusing on matters of public interest. An endearing story of two Long Island boys making a success out of a Long Island business. Telling Glendora to focus on matters of public interest is cable TV operator editorial control. They never learn. This is the case I won against them in 1994, 95, 96. It's still going in 97, 98. I won it. There are laws against that. United States Code, Title 47, Section 531E. No cable TV operator control over content. And not in the promotion of individual products, says Mr. McNeil, as I am sure that your viewers would not want to miss an episode of your show. Just try that. Try it again. Try it again and see where that's going to get you. This has been won and adjudicated in court after court after court. The Supreme Court of the State of New York, County of Westchester, and the United States District Court, Southern District of New York, and the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. Now this is a lie. Glendora was not focusing on the promotion of individual products, quote unquote. Your viewers would not want to miss an episode of your choice. Your show is a threat and is cable TV operator editorial control. Please contact Mr. McNeil writes me with any questions you may have regarding this matter. Glendora says forcing a public access producer to cooperate, quote unquote, is not going to work, and my causes of action in this lawsuit are: defendants have violated New York Code, Rules and Regulations 591.1, no cable TV operator editorial control, state law, that's it. Defendants have violated Public Service Law 225, formerly New York Executive Law, Article something, Section 829.3, no cable operator shall limit or prohibit any program designated for public access. These are matters they were sued on before and lost. Defendants have violated 47 U.S. Code, Section 531E, no cable TV operator shall exercise editorial control over public use of channel. You know, you don't go into a park and censor somebody because they're speaking to the community. You don't do that. But they never learn that. It's their arrogance. Discussion. Defendants can prove no financial benefit to Glendora of a commercial notice or of a commercial nature. There was none. The feature was purely just that. Two Long Island boys make it in the business world. Defendants' motive is greed, panic, that they might have lost $1 of advertising on their TV monopoly, News 12. Glendora has beat Cablevision on editorial control. Glendora versus Cablevision, July 19, 1995, United States District Court, Southern District of New York. They were convicted of violating 47 U.S. Code, Section 531E, no cable operator editorial control. Glendora was given a private right of action to enforce this law, and she was given damages, and she was given a trial. Cablevision was convicted in this court of exercising editorial control on July 29, 1994, meaning in the Supreme Court, State of New York, County of Westchester, and put Glendora back on TV for all time. Defendants have short memories. Indeed, this latest violation of rights is harassment. That Cablevision defendants herein are doing wrong is patently clear when the court considers this fact. The same feature was on 13 other cable companies the same week, and not one protest has been heard. Relief demanded, $23 million in compensatory and punitive damages. The costs of this action, the costs of the other actions in the past since defendants have not learned their lesson. Any further relief that is just and proper. Dated White Plains, New York, March 6, 1998, Anno Domini, yours in truth, Glendora, 3.5 hours and $5.51. Do you know, by the way, that lawsuit hasn't been filed. It's just a complaint. It doesn't have an index number, it doesn't have a judge, no fees have been paid. It was just my answer. And when I went out there to edit on St. Patrick's Day, day before yesterday, or was it yesterday? Nothing was said about the advertisement. Nothing was said about the lawsuit. Except that Brian McNeil, who was very, very nice in helping me take my tapes to Hauppauge, because he comes from Hauppauge. He was over there in Hauppauge, and they gave him Tom Garger's job. Except that he won't take the tapes over there anymore. I don't understand it. I sue him for $23 million, and he gets mad. Why? So I thank him for taking the tapes over in the past. That was very nice. And now it's $23 million. Excuse me, it's $3 to get them to Hauppauge. So maybe somebody else will help us. I keep showing you these pictures. This is the terrible beat up by Bruiser Kenneth H. Mildworm. The bruises, 6 bruises on Glendora, and he socked poor Franklyn in the jaw. Little frail man like that. He sprawled us both on the floor. And this is editing at Cablevision. This is interesting. Now, you know, you've heard about Article 3 judges. Article 3 judges are by Article 3 of the Constitution of the United States, that there shall be district courts and there shall be district judges. And people misinterpret this, that these judges are appointed, and they misinterpret this, that these judges are non-political. They are so political. And that they're appointed for life. They are not appointed for life, okay? That's a misinterpretation. So you check people on that every time. They're appointed only for good behavior. When I think of the evil district of New York, this is what I see. This is what the evil Eastern District of New York looks like to me. And here's another one. This is a movie named after them, Senseless. And these are more connotations drummed up by the evil district, Eastern District of New York, United States District Court. And what is this? Is this another kite clear? No, I think that's the same one. But there is another one around somewhere. Manhattan Neighborhood Network is really advanced when it comes to public access. Well, I guess they have something like 700 public access cablecasts a week. Anyhow, everybody has a barcode. We are sent a barcode. Every one of us public access producers has a barcode. And we're sent the labels at the beginning of every month. And we put those on there. So it's quite a system. We're given a label for the inside, the tape, and then for the cover, the box. So congratulations to you, Manhattan Neighborhood Network. And you certainly have a swank place on 59th Street. You deserve a lot of credit. So we're very appreciative of you and what you do for public access with community, speaking with community. I would like to draw your attention to this. Americans speak about Social Security. You know, the dangers of losing it. And if you want those, this booklet, why don't you call me? 914-949-9495, and I'll try to give you their address so you can get it. We congratulate Robert Goldberg on the public access movement of Long Island. This was grandmothered sort of by moi. When I came out to Long Island, as sophisticated as the people in Long Island are, they were totally, what's the word? Brainwashed as to their public access rights. They didn't know there were laws protecting them. And this is because it's been such a monopoly in Long Island by Cablevision that they didn't know that they had public access rights and that there were laws made exactly for public access producers to speak community to community. And so I informed them of all of these laws, and of course they were all delighted that I beat Cablevision, that I beat them twice. I beat them several times, but they were particularly delighted that I beat them on that, and non-public access producers were too. Cablevision is not very popular in Long Island. And so the public access movement was going along great with Richard Einhorn, and he was doing a good job. And I was doing well, mobilizing people to do it. And then, of course, with writing, 25 legal papers a day, such as one I just read you, and 1 week, excuse me, I didn't mean to say a day, a week, and 1 week it got up to 40 of them. I had no life left of my own. Robert Goldberg came along, and he seemed to feel the threat that public access could be taken away from people, and that bothered him. So he's a gentleman of honor and honesty and integrity, and he is putting up a great fight for the public access movement of Long Island. We have little cards that we will give you, and you put these inside your cable TV bill, and when you send it back to the greedy cable operator, you say that you support public access. You don't want anything to happen to it. And Diane Bennett tells me that the channel is really filling up. That's great. That's great. So here's the little logo for the public access movement, and Robert wants us public access producers to show that on our programs. Public access logo. Grassroots movement, franchise, top of priority. Public has to demand public access. You have to do that, folks. It has to be a grassroots movement. One franchise has been signed. I think it's where? Is it Babylon? Franchise has been signed, or it's almost about to be signed. But be sure you go to the public meetings. Be sure they have a public meeting. They would even try to get away without it. Make sure they have a public access. A public meeting, so that you can stand up and speak. And tell people that you want public access so that you can communicate with your neighbors. It's an electronic soapbox. That's what Congress intended it to be in the Cable Act of 1984 and all of its revisions. It's a public forum. Grassroots TV faces uphill fight. This is an article that Bob Goldberg, sort of a cute cartoon. I guess the Cablevision people didn't like this. Justice not served. This is Barbara Marney about a boy. It's more police brutality. This is one of our big fights. Police brutality. Just a word of thanks for all the coverage you have given over the last 7 months on the shooting of an unarmed boy by an off-duty court officer. I am Marie Miller, grandmother of Gerard Schnell for 73 years. I have lived in Geraldine Beach and raised 3 children here. On June 8, 1997, my worst nightmare was realized when my daughter Marie called from the Coney Island Hospital emergency room to let us know our grandson Gerard was shot in the chest on Knapp Street by a neighbor and fellow parishioner of my church. For 4 days, my grandson lay in the intensive care unit in severe pain without his survival being definite. All along we prayed, waited, and agonized. After 3 weeks, we took him home to heal, but he does have irreversible damage to one lung. Isn't that terrible? On January 5th, 1998, we spent hours in the Supreme Court, this time waiting for justice to be served. Instead, my grandson was victimized twice with the most ineffective prosecution I have ever witnessed. These 2 young adults were made out to be a drunk and a battered woman. putting them on trial. Not once, when approached by my daughter, did the Assistant District Attorney, Charles Gurria, introduce evidence, promised, or rebuttals to anything said against my grandson. On January 9th, we were assured the sweatshirt Gerard was wearing on the night of the shooting would be introduced into evidence. This would not prove the exact distance between the two, but without a shadow of a doubt proves how close they were not. Monday the 12th came and went, and no sweatshirt was ever introduced. And finally, the admission. It was never tested. Why? My grandson was the unarmed victim, shot with his hands above his head, and was subjected to a drug and alcohol test. The shooter, court officer, was admitted into Coney Island Hospital emergency room as a prisoner with chest pain and was not tested for drugs or alcohol. Again, why? Police brutality. The police state, that's why. The testimony from 2 independent witnesses was overlooked. Why? How can a person with peace officer status who escorts the most violent of our society to their cells use deadly force on an unarmed teenager and walk into our community to do it again? We are still waiting for answers and justice. Marie Miller. I guess it's Garrettson Beach. Jury fell asleep. They either fall asleep or they're intimidated by the police state, knowing that fully well that they will be retaliated against. Producers are entitled to use Manhattan Neighborhood Network's production facilities and have turned in their project information form for the April quarter. We are changing the way we make reservations for our 3 camera studios. Oh, they have beautiful facilities. You gotta go there and ask them to show you around. There's a whole bunch of announcements that are piled up, and I should have told you about it. So you see how our programs are scheduled? You know, by the quarter, 3 months in advance, and you get a label for every one of these. Aren't they smart? Cablevision should do that. Here's a memorandum by Glendora that Mark D. Fox, a United States Magistrate Judge, White Plains, U.S. District Court, Southern District of New York, committed the same paranoia and hysteria in her case, Glendora versus John C. Malone, Bob Magnus, and TCI et al., as he did with John Gotti, Jr. in 97 Criminal 42. Under penalty of perjury, Glendora tells you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help her God, so help all of us God. In 1996, when Glendora told her fugitive defendants, TCI, John Malone, that culprit who murdered public access in White Plains and Westchester, they had best answer her discovery demands quickly and honestly. And she wrote, I am armed and dangerous, meaning she had ready in her hands these 2 publications of the Federal Judicial Center to use against their dodges, evasions, and lies. This is what I meant. I was armed and dangerous. It was a joke. Okay? And that screwball, Mark D. Fox, teacher's helper, said, oh, well, that might alarm defendants. Therefore, Glendora cannot have the home addresses. And these are the home addresses that Judge Connor ordered that I should have. Further, he defied United States Judge William C. Connor, that is Mark D. Fox did, who had already ruled Glendora should have home addresses. Add to these 2 defiances that Fox went back on his own word. Earlier, he had told defendants liar for hire, Ben Wiles, remember what a crook he is? A liar for hire. You'd best obey Judge Connor's order or I'll impose sanctions. Oh, yeah. The same erratic change your mind, back on your word, paranoia, hysteria, Glendora suspects, pervades the Mark D. DeFox decision to keep John Gotti Jr. in jail, no bail, because allegedly someone said Mr. Gotti said he was going to kill one of his co-defendants. And then it was up to Barrington D. Parker to agree with his teacher's helper, Mark D. Fox. And of course Barrington D. Parker would, because Barrington D. Parker does not. I've had a case with Barrington D. Parker, and it was unjust all the way through, and he went back on his word. So I just wrote that in behalf of somebody else, I think, who was unjustly treated, un-American, by the judges. Oh, and what did they, and then they wouldn't file it, see? They don't want that in the file. So they kept it out of the file, and you get a phony letter from the